great pleasure to introduce Barbara Hames, and Barbara's a very dear friend of mine, and lives in Bali, a long way away from me. And Barbara's going to talk about her life and her journey and how it's prepared her and given her tools for approaching something like this pandemic. So it's the tools that are available to people, and I'm sure you've got lots to share, Barbara. So if I could ask you just to introduce yourself and talk about your journey and how you've ended up in this situation, where you are today and how things are.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me, Neil. I feel very honoured to join this Congress, especially at this time of a big change, and people often don't like change. They like comfort. But my life didn't go the way everybody thought it would. I mean, I was the black sheep, but thank God. So I grew up in England, the middle child with two brothers, a long while ago. And, girls didn't do this and didn't do that and didn't go to university. And anyway, I did end up going to university and took 2 degrees and still didn't feel as though I was where I was supposed to be. And I had actually been drawn many times to pictures of sunny beaches and palm trees. And through another training that I did, I ended up moving from England to Java, Indonesia, and working for a company for a couple of years. But actually leaving England and leaving all that like normal life, moving into a third world country was absolutely terrifying. Oh my goodness me. But somehow I landed and managed very well and was introduced to so many amazing places and people and experiences. And even before that, I'd actually left England to go hitchhiking halfway around the world when I was 19. So I did have something of the wanderlust in me. So anyway, I moved to Java, worked there for a couple of years. I had the opportunity to go to Indonesia or China or Poland. So I thought, well, Indonesia sounds good because Bali is there, but I didn't actually end up in Bali until I found an advertisement for a job at a school in Bali. And I came for an interview from Java and secured the job at the most wonderful small international holistic school, and was there for like more than 7 years, and did a lot of training during that time and actually learned how to connect so amazingly with the children, and also learned that it wasn't the ticks or the crosses that counted for the children. It was the love they felt from their teacher and their commitment to their growth. And I was always so aware of my role. And we used to do, thanks to my training during that time, every day we used to do something we called like tapping your cortices or balancing your brain. And these children used to run in for their roll call, sweaty and puffed out and a little bit like maybe aggressive. And then I said, okay, we're going to just sit down. And they sat down and they did the tapping technique. You have no idea of the change it made in those children. The wildest ones just turned into little angels somehow, and they became focused and they became able to work and not so they didn't think they were bad anymore. They thought they could do something good. So I'm very happy to be remembered very sweetly by all of my old pupils from years ago, and I'm very much connected to them and their parents. But what counted during my teaching years and throughout my life since I moved from England was actually really being able to feel love and loyalty and commitment to those children and giving them the time they needed. This was the thing. They just needed time. And we're always in such a rush. So, fast forward to, I retired from teaching. I still go back to the school and still love it tremendously. But I also did some training in those years when I was teaching in all the modules of something called Body Talk. You might know it, but it's about restoring connections within your body and without your body, everything. And I also became a Franklin method educator, which has totally changed how I move, how I see my body, how I actually visualize my movements. Franklin method is it's a modality. It's something that this guy called Eric Franklin created around the same time that Body Talk was created, I think, the mid-90s. And it was really originally for supporting ballet dancers who got injured, and due to their passion and their physicality, why did they get injured? They loved what they were doing, but they got injured. And it was because they were being taught in a way that didn't follow the original design of the body. So Eric Franklin put together so much stuff about anatomy and about the way we are designed to move, so that now once you are able to visualize the way your body is designed to function, like what happens when you raise your arm. I mean, so many people don't put their arm up like that, and everything goes up. We're like using all these muscles that we don't need to use, and we end up with a stiff neck. And once we actually understand what needs to move and how it moves, and sort of see it moving with imagery, that's the important thing with Franklin method. We use imagery. So like, okay, everybody lift your arms. No, everybody, your arms are now feathers, and they're as light as a feather, and now it's going to lift, it's going to float up to the sky. It somehow becomes easier. You know, we are born to respond to stories, and when we're doing any movement, it's always good to put a story in there, like, you know.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
This one.
Yes.
So anyway, so now I work with people either using the other thing I learned, which is something called universal health principles, which incorporates everything, including quantum physics and, you know, the universal intelligence. It can be anything. So universal health principles, Body Talk, and Franklin method, and anything else that comes up. So it's really about allowing yourself to be open to receive whatever is necessary to be reminded to that person. We're all so busy and stressed these days, mostly. We don't even remember to breathe, and we certainly are not open to receiving any messages from the universe. So it's about calming down and allowing the messages to be heard. And I can help.
Fair enough. So look, you know, for the viewers, you know, Barbara is quite extraordinary in her physicality, as she's using that word, and you know, does circus training and these things, and it's you know, things that I would severely struggle with myself. So you know, well done you, and you know, you're putting into practice what we're talking about. And so for a person who's in semi-retirement, you know, you're actually demonstrating what people can actually do in terms of their health, everything from, you know, what they're taking into their bodies to how they're acting, you know, how they're moving, how the decisions that they're making, how aware they are of their body, and so on. So it is, you know, you're definitely you're doing it. You're walking the talk, as they say. You are walking the talk.
The
So,
thing is, most people, when they're actually trying to support people in their body, they bombard them with a lot of information and things to do. It's far better just to give one simple thing. That's how the brain will actually put it into practice. So that's a little.
okay, very, very good. So I wonder, Barbara, if you could just talk a little bit about, Bali. Like, you've been living in Bali for a long, long time now, and but you're very connected to the outside world as well. So you know the panic and the concerns that are going on in the wider world. I wonder if you could just give us some observations around, how the Balinese people are actually responding to, to what's going on internationally, and just make some comparisons. So just actually have a look at, if you could just talk really about that, and any sense from within yourself as to why it is that the Balinese people might be approaching this issue in a different way.
Well, the Balinese people are a special group of people living in Bali, and their religion is Hindu. Unlike the rest of Indonesia, most of Indonesia is Muslim. The thing about Bali, and I think the thing that keeps them grounded, is their connection with the gods and their recognition of this God. There's a God for this, and there's a God for that, and we have to make these things for this God. It's beautiful, actually, how you see everyone every day, like I think 2 times a day, they put out these little offerings for the gods, like, flowers, fruit. Every house does this, and they pray and they put holy water and they give time to the gods. I mean, we're not really in charge. So I really value that here in Bali, and I can feel that difference when I'm in Bali, of like this connection they have with the gods, the powers, and always saying hello like this is like a very reverential, and they smile. But with this all this stuff going on now, the roads are, thank goodness, a lot clearer, not so busy at all. But Bali relies on tourists. They really do rely on tourists. So businesses are having to let a lot of their employees go or reduce their hours. And I have a friend who is not having any income right now because no one's hiring her bikes. So everyone is feeling very pressured financially and rather scared that they won't be able to keep up with their credit payments. And so there's a big pressure on the people that they don't have enough money. And they still smile. They still are able to smile because they have this connection, a really, really strong connection to family, and they always support their family. So that is the other thing that keeps the Balinese people grounded, I think, the gods and family. Family is so important to them, and the children are brought up to really respect their fathers and mothers and all of that. So what I was thinking about all the information and suggestions to stay safe during this time, about washing hands and coughing to here and using your elbow, this is actually what we should all be teaching our children. And I think the people that I know, the Balinese that I know, well, there's a lady that comes to clean my home. She washes her hands really beautifully before she starts, and she teaches her children these things about washing hands, and all of those things. I guess they don't have enough money to buy lots of quality vitamins, but they eat very healthily. I mean, in their eyes, probably not quite in my eyes, but they cook at home, they enjoy their food, and they sit and eat together. And this is something that we've lost in the West. We don't have that time with our family. So this change that's coming up for the Westerners, it's hopefully going to be very beneficial. But here in Bali, yeah, the roads are very much clearer. Lots of places have either closed down, or, you know, the people that work there are doing so because they have to. They want to be at home with their families. But I'm glad they're there. But life goes on, but in a much smaller way. And yes, people are a little scared that they're going to be targeted. But they have their family and they have their gods, and they trust in, you know, what will be, will be. And what is it? This too shall pass.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the Balinese people, in your observation through their connection to the gods and so on, so in other words, connection to spirituality, and the fact that it's integrated so much into their life. So, you know, Western people may well be spiritual as well. Like there's no exclusionary principle there, but because of the culture, which actually puts them in touch with their belief system and, you know, their whole spiritual connection, it means that there's just a tremendous level of reminding. So there's this reminding going on all the time, and you know, and that's a significant difference. And it will be very interesting to see how all of this plays out, given the you know, the energy field of the people, given that they have this sort of, you know, natural sort of relationship to, you know, to the spiritual world. Anyway, look, I wonder if you could talk to us a little bit about, because you talked a lot about your impressions of how the virus is actually impacting on the Balinese people with these things. And, you know, fundamentally, it's not really they're not that concerned about the virus. They're concerned about the economic conditions that are flowing on from it. So
Yeah,
that is their concern. And how will we look after our family and so on and so forth. But even so, these things are, you know, there's a lot of fear associated with it. And I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about, because you have strong linkages with the outside world as well, particularly back to England. So I wonder if you could just talk about what you're seeing with the pandemic. So like what the pandemic really means for humans, like from a human perspective, and particularly from the perspective of you know, people who are retired or semi-retired. So how all of that's actually working, and you know, how the change is actually affecting them.
Well, in Bali, the families, well, Balinese people don't really need to ask somebody to come and visit them. But in the West, I think there's a lot of this isolation is probably very physically detrimental to those people who can't get out. And I hear from my nurse friend that there's a lot more old people who are suffering mentally due to loneliness. Mm-hmm. So I think it's real. I mean, as I say that, it makes me feel quite emotional. We need to reach out to these people who are alone and talk to them. I mean, probably on like, you know, chat or something, but we need to let them know they're not alone, because people die from loneliness. And if you've experienced a death, maybe your partner has died or something, you're feeling alone anyway, then this happens, you're not going to want to live anymore. So we need to stay connected with the people, with everyone, really, with everyone. But we can look into our hearts and find out who would like to hear from me now, and just a quick hello makes all the difference. But I get messages from England telling me, oh, look how this hospital isn't coping, and there's another death here. And I mean, I choose rather not to take a lot of notice of that. Of course this is happening, and it makes me very sad, but this is a time when, a real wake-up time for everybody, to like look at our lives and see, what have I been missing, and what have I not been doing that I need to do? Who have I not seen that I should have seen? So in the West, I think people are discovering how lovely it is to actually be at home with their family, hopefully, as long as they have a reasonable relationship, or they're learning how to relate in a more gentle way. We've got to just stop being judgmental, and you know, we've just got to listen. We don't need to tell everybody, oh, you should do this and you better take that. We just need to just listen. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. If you want anything that I can help you with, please ask. That's what people need to know. It's so easy to ask. Well, we think, but it's not that easy to ask. Maybe this is a time where we have to start asking. And I didn't say, but actually on Wednesday here in Bali is Nyepi Day. It's the day of silence, my favorite day of the year. I've always said it should be the whole world over, and it seems like it is. So airport is closed. Most internet connections are off. Everyone stays at home, connects with their family, apologizes for their past misdeeds. All the bad spirits and things are scared out by this drumming and firecrackers and things. And then from 6 a.m. the following day, it's silent. And yes, you can see all the stars. And it's so special. And I just, you know, it would be lovely if the whole world did this for 24 hours every month.
Every month, okay. So connection. So maintaining connection and well, starting off with just making contact with, you know, people around you who, you know, are lonely. So like it's that sense, being able to sense from your heart into the loneliness in your environment, and then actually reaching out to it.
Yeah.
But the other message that you're really giving to us here, and it's something that I probably need to take notice of myself, is to actually ask for assistance as well. So
Yes.
it's being prepared to actually say, you know, I would like some assistance. And I interviewed Joel Hervik earlier, and very beautifully, she said, well, I was one of the people who became anxious and decided that I wanted to work from home. And I thought that was really beautiful. It was an expression of, you know, I'm feeling this too. You know, it's a real human experience that she was having, and beautifully shared, you know, in her interview. And so what we're talking about here is actually recognize that we are feeling a bit fragile. So recognize our fragility and be prepared to actually reach out. And in the reaching, it's not only I'll come and fix your problems up, but it's actually reaching out saying, you know, I could actually do with an arm around my shoulder here, you know, at this time. And
Yes.
but I'm a bit frightened of you coming too near to me because I need to social distance. So, but anyway, it's a really beautiful thing that you're saying there, which is let's actually reach out, both by saying we can help, we're offering, we're here to actually assist, but also we're here to actually make ourselves available for things to come in as well. So thank you.
I would also just say that don't spread fear. I mean, there's always going to be fear in the news that, oh, this has happened. So I would, myself, I don't want to share stuff that makes people even more, you know, unable to breathe out. That's the other thing. Breath and sleep. And movement, and everyone wants to know how to move more easily and fluidly, whatever your age. I'm here.
Absolutely. So reach out to Barbara, and Barbara will talk to you about movement and being open in your body in that way. So I know you've got a lot to offer there. So methods to stay healthy, you're already talking about them. You're already talking about the breath, reaching out to people.
Yeah. Well, getting up, don't switch your phone on for, an hour or something. Don't start connecting. Stay connected inside. Drink some water, taste the water, have a little wriggly giggly, do a sun salutation, do some stretching, just do hydration, movement, smiling, gratitude for, even if it's raining and cold. Say, thank you. I know this is really good to kill germs if it's really cold, but you've got to be grateful for whatever nature gives you and notice it. So just be grateful, along with your movement. Be grateful that you can move, that you can stand up. There are so many who are challenged in this area, or who have pain and all they can think about is the pain. I mean, I've had a pain recently. I mean, I had a little motorbike accident, but as soon as I started thinking about it, the pain got bigger. As soon as I started thinking about, oh, I better clean the stairs, or I better move there, you take your thoughts off something and the pain goes away. It really does, even a headache. Pain is like this big thing that fills up everything. So if you do have pain, I would say, just look at the pain, know where it's coming from, then just read it a story or something, or just get your imagination somewhere else. Your imagination is far better than knowledge, as I think Uncle Albert said.
So, do you have 3 recommendations for people that they can really take away here? Like, what's the takeaways?
Get up in the morning, put a smile on your face if it's not there already, and take some big, huge breaths and some big, huge stretches. And thank you for the day. Thank you for my life. Thank you for my body. Really notice that you're breathing fully, and then go and have some big glass of water and do some movement, and just love yourself. Love yourself. Look in the mirror and say, oh, you crazy, weird person, you. I love you to bits, or something, just talk to yourself. Well, when I'm on my bike on the scooter, I'm thinking, okay, my neck is long. I've got a swan's neck, or I'm talking to my body and sending it nice pictures. So throughout the day, just send your body some nice pictures, but movement, easy movement, focused movement. Don't try and do everything all at once. Stretch your toes, wriggle them around. They're where you're grounded from. And we forget our feet often. Our feet are so important. Just, feel all the bones and stretch your toes if you can reach them. Or just do a little run across the room. You need to get some water. Tiptoe across there. Just a little bit of challenge every moment.
Fair enough. Okay, so that's absolutely marvelous. Thank you so much for that. I wonder if you can just have a parting comment for us, and that is the appeal from Barbara's heart to the world. What would be your appeal to the world?
We were created to be ageless. So there's no going downhill unless you choose it. So we can keep carrying on upwards. Never about your weight.
Oh, that's very, very good. Okay, so that's an amazing appeal to the world, is Yeah, we are by design ageless, and we make choices. We choose. We choose what we're doing about this virus. We choose what we're doing about, you know, the number of times we go around the sun, and we make all these choices. And what we
Yes,
do is,
there's one more thing, and plan your next adventure. That's, I mean, to a museum, to another country, or when we can, but or like a picnic in the garden. Just plan your next adventure, because we have to have adventures.
this sounds like the wisdom of Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, I do love Winnie the Pooh.
Okay, well, look, Barbara Hames, thank you so much for being in this interview today, and I'm sure, you know, people are going to watch and they're going to say, "Yep, there's some really interesting things to do there, and I can get much better in contact with my body and my breath and
Yeah,
my
Franklin.
silence and
Yeah.
all those things." So thank you, and we'll have links to for people to be able to reach out to you and contact you. So if people are looking for assistance, and you know, if they've got things to offer as well, I'm sure that they can do the same thing. So it's that open communication. So thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.